This is the Collaboration Dynamics Podcast, helping you work together better with Judy Reese, X-Ray listener, best-selling author, international virtual collaboration trainer, and master of metaphor. Hear more at xraylistening.com.
Hello and welcome to Collaboration Dynamics. With me today I have Russell Brunson. Hello Russell. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure, I'd love to. Thanks so much for having me here. Like you said, my name is Russell Brunson. I live in Boise, Idaho, and we spent the last 12 years building up multiple different companies, and that's kind of what we do.
And when it comes to collaboration, what kind of collaborations do you get involved in?
Yeah, I've been thinking about this, trying to figure out the best way to kind of share what we do, and we've obviously tried a lot of different things. Some really successfully, and some that were horrible flops. With our team, we've got about 8 of us that work in an office here in Boise, and then we've got about 15 or so that work all around the globe, different places. And so we've had to find different tools to be able to do that, because obviously it's not always just everyone in one spot or things like that. And so kind of a couple of the things we do. One of them is there's an app that I use. I know that you're familiar with it. It's called Voxer. And I have a short commute to my office every single day, and I have everyone on all of our teams on this Voxer app. And so what I'll do is, like, a couple times a week I send out like broadcasts like, hey everyone, this is the direction, this is what's happening. I try to get just to steer momentum and focus, and I shoot those Voxers out to kind of make sure everyone's on the same page and we're all moving the same direction. And then when we get in the office, we have a couple different teams. We have a support team that does all of our customer support and things like that, and they're 100% virtual. They're all around the world, and so we use for those guys to collaborate. We use a tool called FlowDoc, and it's a tool that they all get together, and they have it's almost like a water cooler chat thing, and everyone's in there, and they're all chatting, and they're hanging out, and they're sharing things, and they're in there. But then within that software, you can break off with someone individually and have private conversations with them or with a group of people. And so it's kind of interesting. You'll see in there as I open up the app on my computer, I'll see all these things happening, people talking, and they're sharing, and just they may have a random question they can't answer for a customer, they post in there, and other people come and they help, and so it's interesting. It's like I feel like it's like the office equivalent of water cooler talk, right? But then as soon as someone identifies this is an issue I can help you with, and it breaks off into a separate little chat room, and then they figure out together, and they solve the issue, and then it kind of breaks off from there. And for them, it's been really effective and efficient, because it gives people that ability to feel like they're part of a culture where they're close together, even though they're not. None of you guys have ever even met each other in person. Mm-hmm. But they have that feeling as if they're in an office, and they have a chance to share that. And then for us here inside the office, I'm not a big proponent of meetings and things like that. They just seem like they waste a lot of time for me. And so we started doing these things a while ago, and we're not really consistent with them, but we try to do them often enough. We'll do quick meetings in the mornings where everyone gets together, and we stand up, and the meetings are 5 minutes long. That's it. Where everyone says basically hey, this is my number one project or my number one priority that I'm working on today, and here's the one tool or the one thing that's keeping me from getting my goals that I need someone's help from. And it gives everyone the ability to kind of see where everyone's at, what they're focusing on, and then what their sticking points are, and how they can each help. And so we do those meetings a couple times throughout the week. They kind of give us a really quick grasp of here's where we're at. Here's where Russell's focus is, where he wants us all going, and here's my individual things, like my priorities, and it's just been really efficient for us to get people moving forward quickly in the right direction.
Mm-hmm. So for you, when all that's happening and you are collaborating and working at your best, mm-hmm. that's like what?
It's a good question. For me, when it's working, I don't know how the best way to explain. I feel like my wife and I went to like a musical play a while ago, and there's a conductor standing up front, and he's conducting the music, and he's waving his arms, and everyone's doing their pieces, right? You got the brass doing what they're doing, you got percussion, you got all the people doing their pieces, and he's standing up there orchestrating it. And that's what I feel like because for me, like, I look at like what my role is in the company, like, I'm obviously the owner, but more so I'm kind of like the glue that's like gluing all these pieces together. And I feel like I'm like leading music, and I'm getting people to do each of their pieces, and everything's coming together. And for me, that's kind of what it feels like. I don't know if that makes sense. But that's what it feels like. That's what it feels like to me. Like I'm in my office, I'm behind this computer, and everyone's kind of out. Like I can see everyone from where I'm at, and so I feel like orchestrating a musical and watching his pieces come back together, and when all is done with this beautiful piece that we create, and that's what it feels like for me.
And when you're orchestrating like that, and you can see the pieces come together, is there anything else about how those pieces come together?
As far as specifics, like how it happens or how we feel,
how you feel and how it appears to you.
Yeah, for me, it's funny because whenever you start a project, there's so much stuff at first. It's like it's kind of hard to see the finish line sometimes, and so for me, like I think the one thing I'm really good at is I can see all the pieces and how they fit together. And a lot of times, everyone else doesn't, like, they understand their piece of it, but they don't understand how it all fits together. And so a lot of times it's kind of like, just trust me, like, I need these 4 or 5 things, like, just do those. And they're like, okay, and they do it there, and they're doing theirs, and suddenly comes a point where, like, I've got all the pieces, like a puzzle, like I've got all the pieces now. Now it's like, okay, guys, now everyone's done their pieces. Now let me show you how it's all kind of comes together now. And that's when we get together and say, okay, so this piece goes here and this goes here. And everyone suddenly is like, oh, wow, that's how all these things we've been working on and kind of doing, how they all fit together into one whole. And it's just exciting when you see that. I don't know about you, but for me, it's like the creation of it, like you've created this thing and all the pieces are working together. Now it's there and it works, and it's exciting.
Now, I'm very curious about what you just said, because from what little I know of you, I know that's a recurring pattern that I've seen you do several times, that you're inviting several people to do their pieces, and then you can show them how the pieces fit together.
Yeah, exactly.
Now,
it's kind of like,
go on.
I was gonna say there's this movie from like the 80s that was really big called Karate Kid. I'm not sure if you've seen it, but
I haven't seen it.
The Karate Kid, he's this kid that wants to learn karate, and he goes to this teacher, and the teacher's, so I'll teach you karate, and he's like, come over here, and I'm gonna start waxing these cars. And he has this kid wax cars for like 3 days, and he's like, now come over here and paint this fence. And he's painting these fences, and finally the guy, after spending 2 or 3 weeks, he's like, I want to learn karate. I don't want to do these chores for you. And what he didn't know is that the master was teaching him like the movements, like waxing a car. A certain movement is how you block a punch, and the way you paint the fences, and the way you do another movement. And so then the teacher comes over and starts throwing punches at him, and the guy instinctively is able to block everything. And he's like, this is why I had you do that, not because I just want you to work for me. So I'm teaching you the movements and trying to get them into your brain. And that's how I feel sometimes. It's like, just trust me. There's a reason behind all this. We just got to do it. And then when we get to the end, it's like, oh, cool. That's why and how it all works.
Mm-hmm. So when you're orchestrating, and it's like you're the conductor, how do you know what the different parts should do?
I think for me, it's just because I've done it so many times. Like when I first started the business, I didn't have money to hire people. So at first it was me. I had to do all the pieces. And so because of that, in fact, I always tell any entrepreneur, like when you first start something, it's good for you to do everything, so you know all the pieces, like what's, what are all the things, and what's there. And because for the first 2 or 3 years, I had to do everything. Like I was doing every single piece. Like I got a really clear picture of, to get something done, these are all the pieces. And as I started building a team and bringing people in, I knew when I was doing it strategically, it was like, here's a piece of the puzzle that, maybe I'm not that good at. I know how to do it, but I'm not that good at it. Let me find someone with a skill set who can really do amazing at that, and then give that piece to them. And then the same, the next person we bring in. So eventually we have a team where everyone is really good at that aspect of it. And for me, it's they've replaced a part of me. And so I still know like what all the pieces are and the order they need to go in. But each of them are kind of in charge of running one of those pieces and really becoming a master at it. And for me, that's how we've been able to scale and grow quickly, is because individually, each of these guys are way better than me at each of the pieces. But as a whole, it's just amazing how much you can accomplish when you have it that way.
Mm-hmm. And so each of them has replaced a part of you. And that's how you know what they should be doing when you're
Exactly.
orchestrating like that.
Yeah, it's been interesting as I've consulted other businesses, and you go in and a lot of times, again, the owner, same thing. The owner knew it one time, but then they've grown so far they forget about it. And one of my thing I do is I have people go back and like, you should probably do this part just so you understand like what all the pieces are. Because at one time you knew, or maybe you lucked out and didn't have, you found a rock star initially who was able to do that, but then later on that person disappeared, or whatever the circumstances are. Like, it's always good for whoever's in charge to know they don't have to be an expert at all the pieces, but to know them well enough that they can then orchestrate it and help move the process forward.
Mm-hmm. I'm very curious about the process of replacing a part of you. As a metaphor, that sounds a bit uncomfortable, but what happens when you're replacing a part of you?
It's funny too, because especially like as an entrepreneur, like it's really hard because you take so much pride, and it's like scary to like hand over a piece of you to someone else. The first time I really learned about that and started trying to do it, I read a book called The E-Myth by Michael Gerber.
Mm-hmm.
He was talking about systems and how, he talked about like McDonald's, for example, and how McDonald's doesn't have the best hamburgers in the world, but they got the best systems. And that's why people spend $1 million on a couple $1 million on a McDonald's franchise, not because they've got better tasting hamburgers, but because they've got these systems where you can plug in any kid off the street and the thing just works. And I read that. I remember thinking about that with my business. Like, what are the things I can systemize? And I started looking at all these pieces that I had. And at first I was like, which of these things do I really hate? And I was like, okay, I don't like, for example, for me, it was customer support was the first thing. This is really stressful for me. And so I had to like figure out like, how do we systemize this? And, what are the commonly asked questions, and try to turn it into a system where I could plug somebody else in and replace me on that one aspect. And that was the first person I hired, was someone to do support for me. And so I had to go and kind of create, as much as I had at the time, like, here's the frequently asked questions, here's, and train them. And at first it feels like you're stepping back because you have to slow down and you have to get this person caught up and get them trained and everything. But then after they're working, then you can, double your speed going forward. And then it's like, I kind of look at the next thing. What's the next thing that I have? And I'm like, okay, well, I'm really struggling with this piece of it or this piece of it. And then I go and, create kind of a system around that. That kind of goes through what the process is, and then bring someone in and say, okay, this is the system as it is. Your job now is to make it better and to, and add other things that you see and really take ownership of it. And just systematically over, 10 years of doing this, I've replaced most of what I can do. Sometimes my team teases me. They're like, man, you can't do anything anymore, Russell. I'm like, that's how it should be.
And, well, I was going to ask you something different, but just check in on that thing. So when they tease you, and you're being the conductor and you're orchestrating, and they tease you and say that you can't do anything anymore, then what happens to the orchestrating? Then what happens to the conductor?
For me, that's my goal. And so for me, it's awesome, because now I know I can trust them with this piece of it, right? Like the conductor in a thing, he knows that, like, let's say it's the tubas, like, as soon as he can trust them to like hit their things, like it's awesome. Like, he just has to like point to them every once in a while and make sure it's happening. But for the most part, like, they can run with it. And that's the key for me. Like, and as you see from my organization, like, I've got an amazing people who are all better than me at what they do, and I can trust them, and it's awesome. That's been my goal forever, and we're there. And it's just so great to have those people in place that can run things, and so you can sleep at night knowing that that it's all working.
The tubers are just going to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. And just to check in with how you got to that place, I think I heard you say that you started with the things you hated.
Exactly, yeah. In fact, I read a really cool book called Rework. And in the book, he talked about hiring, and he said, a lot of people just go hire because they've got cash or, whatever the reason. And he says, like, you don't hire until there's pain. Like, as soon as there's pain, that's when you bring someone in, and that's when you start hiring people. So for me, that's how it kind of was. Like, every time I had pain, I'm like, like in the morning, if I wake up and I don't want to get out of bed, like, what's causing that pain? We got to find someone. We got to build a system and find someone to run that so that I don't feel that anymore. Because if I don't want to get out of bed, then, nothing good's going to happen.
Mm-hmm. And so now you've got all that pretty well organised. I mean, we were saying just before the recording, you've got so much stuff going on. It's like astonishing amounts of stuff. And you've got that pretty well organised. Then what happens to the conductor? As you're orchestrating now, What kind of conductor is that conductor?
That's a good question. Obviously the long-term goal is to be able to replace the conductor as well and be able to have him step out and have someone else do 100% of it. For me, the problem I have is that I have so much fun with this that I don't want to step out of it. I get so many of my needs met from the process. And so for me, it's fun to be involved, but long term, I think that's the goal eventually is to be able to step out completely and even replace that last piece of it. So that way, if you do want to retire or disappear or go on a year-long vacation or whatever that thing is, that even that last piece can be ran by people. And so I'm sure someday I'll get to that point where I'm looking for my entire replacement, but that usually, at least for me, won't happen until I stop having so much fun and stop loving it.
Mm-hmm. So when that's the ultimate goal, that's not a goal for now. That's a goal for some point in the future. Yeah,
exactly. And sometimes and a lot of people I know that the way to that point, that's when they sell the company. That's when they step out. And other people, they want, if it's a cash cow and it keeps making money, they just want to replace themselves and completely step out and just plug somebody else in. And so there's, a couple of different options when you get to that point that just kind of depends on what makes the most sense for you.
Mm-hmm. Now, just to sort of check in with the sort of scale of this thing, when you're orchestrating and when you're being that kind of conductor, we've talked about the immediate members of your team, the people who are in your office with you, and also the people who are connected over the internet, over the Voxer and the I've forgotten the name of the thing, the FlowDock, the water cooler system.
Uh-huh.
When you're orchestrating like that, whereabouts are your clients, your coaching clients, your consulting clients, and the customers of your various enterprises? Are they part of that orchestra?
Yeah, definitely. In fact, everything we do, we're very big here on I don't feel like we sell a product or service in any of our businesses, yet we do. We're very big on what's the result we're trying to get for people. That's more so our mission, and for us, that's something that everyone's got instilled from the top of the company down to the bottom. It's our goal is to get results for people. What does that look like? How are we doing that? And so our clients are everywhere. We've got clients in pretty much every country that on planet Earth. Buying our products or our software, our supplements, or our coaching or things like that. And so yeah, a big piece is then how do you collaborate at that level? And that's something that's for us, we're still learning and evolving with it. Recently we started adding Facebook groups into what we're doing to collaborate with customers as they come in, which has been really, really neat. And it's cool because we've been able to bring in customers from around the world and let them, for example, for ClickFunnels, one of our software companies, we launched this basic Facebook group, and it was we called it a peer-to-peer support group, because basically we do all of our customer support, but every once in a while it's these are the same questions people are asking. They're not really support questions, are more just just things that they want opinions on, things like that. So we launched this peer-to-peer support group and invited everyone in. And it's turned into this thriving community where everyone's helping each other and they're critiquing each other's stuff and they're coaching each other. And it's just the neatest thing. We did the same thing with our coaching company, and we've got a couple hundred people in a Facebook group, and they're all coaching each other and and motivating each other and doing calls with each other. And it's been a cool extension kind of what we tried to do here. And it's not perfect yet. We're still working on it and trying to evolve it. But it's definitely kind of in the forefront of our mindset is how do we make that process better and help kind of facilitate those relationships among our customers.
And I'm very curious about how much of that you have in your fitting the pieces together kind of system. Are they are the people on the customers part of your orchestra, or are they external to that?
I've never thought about that way before. I'm not sure the right way to answer that. I think that's a good question. I'm not even sure. Almost in my mind, it's the customers are the music, right?
Mm-hmm.
like the orchestra is doing all this stuff and they're doing stuff with Orchestrate, and then the fruits of it are the customers. And either we're going to make really pretty music that everyone likes, or it's going to be really nasty music, right? And so that's the goal, is the better that we get internally, the better results we get for our customers, the better music that we can create, I guess.
So the customer's the music, and the better the music you can create.
Yeah, it's kind of cool way to think about it.
So we're running out of time, so we better bring this to a close. Thank you very much indeed for all of that. If people want to find out more about you, your businesses and what you do, where should they look for you?
Yeah, probably the best place to look is our main website. It's just .comsecrets.com, and it's spelled out DOTCOM secrets.com. And if people go there, they can get a free copy of my new book that teaches people how we grow and scale companies online, which is kind of fun.
Lovely. Thank you very much indeed. Been absolutely fascinating, as these interviews often are. So thanks very much.
Thanks, Judy. I appreciate you.
I couldn't help but be fascinated by that interview. In particular, finding out how Russell did his delegating, and the fact that he delegated first the things that he hated. After all, if he's giving away a part of him, that's going to be a big deal. So give away the bits you hate first. What an interesting way of going about it. And then he doesn't want to give away the bit he loves, the orchestration, the making the beautiful music, and pinpointing whereabouts the customers were in his vision of his organisation. I think, well, I know because he told me after the interview, was really interesting and useful to him, because he hadn't thought about it in that kind of depth before. And that gave him some insights. And that's one of the great things about this process of exploring your own metaphor for how you do great collaboration. Yes, we can all talk about the software and the systems and get into that kind of thing. But when you think about how you are when you are collaborating at your best, then you start to get to the nitty-gritty. You get the real deal. And that's what I think we got from Russell. So thanks very much to Russell for being willing to go there in public on a podcast. In next week's podcast, I'll be checking back in with someone I last interviewed about her metaphors years ago and finding out how they've changed as her work has changed and the way she collaborates has changed.